Hello, welcome. My name is Miriam. I'm a family therapist. This video is about getting children to eat more fruit and vegetables. Now, this is a question that lots of parents ask me, and the video is aimed to help children expand their palate, enjoy more textures, more tastes, and just have fun with food rather than trying to hide the vegetables in other foods and so that they get the nutrients without realizing what they're eating. So if you are a vegetable hider, no problem. You can continue with that, but also it'd be good for you to consider these ideas and techniques that are going to help your child enjoy food and enjoy a variety of food much more. As usual here, I'll start with some psychological understandings and I'll continue to practical skills. These skills helped lots of families. Some of them are directed at the most picky and refusing children, and that, I believe, is going to help you. So let's start. The first point that I wanted to make is that because food is so tightly linked with our survival and with our physical health, then it is often a cause of anxiety in families. There's a lot of tempting, tasty food around that our children are drawn towards, and this food isn't really good for us. And on the other hand, we've got this nutritional advice. It started with 5 a day, fruit and vegetables. Now people talk about having it of different colors to get different nutrients. And the latest one is about having 30 different types of fruits and vegetables every week. Now, if your child loves experimenting with food, it could work very well. But I suspect that if you're watching this video, this is not the case with you. You're probably asking yourself, how on earth am I going to make this happen? I'm going to suggest some ideas that are going to help, but in the meantime, I invite you to put these ideas as long-term goals and release this anxiety and know that even if your child's nutrition isn't perfect right now, it's still going to be okay. You're going to have some skills and some ideas to help you on the way, but the main thing is to put the anxiety aside and not have too much stress around meal times and around food. My second point is about picky eaters, vegetable refusers. Usually these children are quite anxious around food. They feel that they cannot eat this food because they find it horrible or disgusting. Not rightly so, but they do. Then they're worried that they may be offered food that they believe they can't eat. They will need to explain themselves. They will need to refuse it. Their eating habits can become the conversation of a whole group. I mean, I know about this because I used to be a picky eater myself, and I absolutely hated people talking about what I eat and what I don't eat and why. Children usually aren't there to create a problem. They're having a problem. Their problem is that they haven't yet learned to enjoy different foods. And because they have a problem, they create a problem for everybody else. The next point I wanted to make is that lots of parents, out of the best intentions, try to protect children from situations where they may not be able to eat what they're given. And so before going to a friend, they will tell the parent of the friend, my child doesn't eat this or doesn't eat that. Or when you go out and order things at the restaurant, you try to protect children from what you think they're not going to eat. And by doing that, sometimes you actually lock them into the same position of not wanting to try things. I've been observing children in primary schools for many years now, and many schools have got this snack time around 10:30, where children are handed a piece of fruit or a carrot, and almost all of them eat it, including the ones whose mothers swear that they wouldn't touch it at home. So why do they? First of all, because everybody else around them does. Secondly, they may be peckish or hungry, and this is all that's available. Thirdly, there's nothing else to do. And the fourth point is that the spotlight isn't on them. Nobody is actually concerned about whether they're eating it or not. And so they can just eat without getting a reaction from anyone. And that's especially important if you've already had arguments about this at home, which most families have had. So if your children already declared they're not going to eat something, it's very hard for them to back off. But when they're somewhere where nobody knows about it and nobody frankly cares, then they're free to try new things. So I would say don't protect them, and they may try things that you wouldn't think that they would. So now we're continuing with the practical skills. First point is going easy on table manners while this process is happening. So you always see yourself as having a mission or a goal, and that is to help your child eat more fruit and more vegetables. Any other conflict or stress around food is something that you want to avoid. So if your children eat with their mouth open or they touch the food and you don't really like it, just park it aside for a while. I will make a video about table manners very soon, and I've already made one about why it's not a good idea to get children to clear their plate. I'm going to link to it here. So for now, table manners aside. Secondly, get them into the kitchen to help you with food preparation. When they start touching food, whether it's flour or they're making some dough, and they experience the texture, they experience the smells, the tastes of the foods, it's going to just make them more and more flexible. And when they've put an effort into making something, it's much more likely that they're going to try it and they're going to give it a much bigger chance than if they are not invested in it. So get them into the kitchen as much as possible. No pressure, just fun. My next suggestion is about children who already eat some vegetables, maybe not enough. I'm going to talk about the refusers in a moment. And that is that when you start heating up food or cooking, cut some vegetables, put them on a plate on the table. You are still busy with the preparations, and children already smell the food that they're going to be served. All that they're going to see in front of them is vegetables. And many of them, because they're hungry and they're expecting food, they're going to eat it. They're just going to help themselves. Now I'm going to talk about the most difficult challenge of all, and these are the children who just won't try anything, won't touch the vegetables or the fruit, just don't want it. Now, what many parents do is say, you just need to try it. Try it, and if you don't like it, you don't have to eat it. That's very frustrating because some children will first of all refuse to try at all, and others will just give it a little bite and say, I don't like it, and that's the end of it. And research actually shows that you need about 20 exposures to new food which you don't initially like in order to start liking it. 20 exposures. So how on earth are you going to get that? Here comes the trick. You want to cut the vegetable or the fruit or whatever it is that you want them to try into such a minute piece that they can hardly see it. I've put a portion of carrot next to an uncooked grain of rice on a plate for you so that you see what I'm talking about. That's small. This is how small you want to go. And you say to your child, I'd like you to taste it. Can you do it? Are you brave enough? That's because I know you don't like carrot, but are you brave enough to taste this piece? Children usually laugh. They hardly ever refuse. If the atmosphere is good, then they will usually just do it. And if you've got some foods that you've got a problem with, you can do it alongside them. So you can do it as a family thing and just go for very, very, very little pieces. Now, the next day, you can make it twice as big. Still, you want them to get used to the texture and the taste so slowly that they hardly even realize that that's what they're doing. So you can do it with carrots, you can do it with cucumbers, with whatever it is that you want. But you want to start first with a more bland taste. So don't start with a celery or with a radish or anything like that. Just start with something that's common, that's easy, and celebrate every little success. So your children are going to get lots of good attention, positive vibes out of this process. We think it will take a long time because you start with such a tiny little piece, but many of them at some point just get a little bit bored with this and they will just eat whatever it is. They will just have it. So I'm really inviting you to try it. Many families have used it. It is very helpful. It does work. And if you like this information, by the way, please give it a like and subscribe. So thank you. This is it from me for today. I hope you've learned something new here, enjoyed yourself, and I wish you good luck with all of this. Thank you very much.